Hello, welcome back to another episode of D54. I'm Amit, joined by Melanie from Paradise Reviews, joined by Kathy from Cinemondo. Very excited and I'm very happy to be joined by you guys because we are covering a sensational movie called Saudi Vellakka, which was just something else. Really, really enjoyed this movie. And this is part of like an ongoing series I'm going to start to do. This is probably the second video in that series, but I'm trying to cover movies that are less known, hidden gems. So they didn't break the box office. They don't have a big superstar name. Perhaps it's a director who's just getting started. Like in this movie, there was really no superstars in this movie that we're used to seeing, with the Fahad Fasil, Tarina Thomas, Mammootty, Mohanlal, we haven't seen those guys in this, and it was just such a delight to see this. But before we get onto it, guys, what were your early thoughts about the movie?
I literally got misty-eyed at the end of the film. There's a big climactic scene where two major characters sit down at a cafe and finally have a conversation together, and it just really choked me up. And I did really appreciate what you're saying is everyone was like the lead actor. I have seen him, Lukman, Avaran. I've seen him as a supporting character in several films because I went back to, I was like, why is that face familiar? No. But really, everyone else, they're under the radar kind of, they've been supporting characters or whatever. No one had any kind of a lead role that I had seen before. And so, like, you can completely get absorbed into the story because you're not like, oh, this is Fahad doing a shtick or this is whatever. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're just completely in the story because these actors are not so well known to you. And I really, this was also a new to me director, and I'm definitely going to seek out his other work. Tharun Moorthy is the name of the director. Yep. And this is his second film. And I know, I was like, when is his next movie coming out? And he's got one that's maybe coming out later this year, but we don't even have a title or anything.
I was really blown away because I thought the main actress who plays the grandma, who's kind of a central character, was so good. And she was very understated. She just seemed very, very dignified, but very kind of sad because I feel like she's living with her family, but she feels kind of crowded by them and not respected and feels like she's kind of holding them back. So, of course, guess what my favorite scenes are? Number one, feeding the little kitten.
Yep. Okay.
So what I loved about it is when she leaves to her home and goes to handle the case by herself, she goes and lives in this place like 2 hours away or something. And she befriends this kitten there. And it's the first time you really see her smile. And so here she is alone. You think, oh, she's all alone. She's taking care of this little animal. She's walking around and seeing all the beauty there. Like for a minute there, you say, oh, maybe it was I get goosebumps thinking about it because she was such a sad character. And for a minute, just in the quiet and being alone, even though she's facing down this case, she had like a moment of happiness, feeling I'm in charge now. I can handle it. I'm not going to have everybody barking at me when I'm doing wrong and all the stuff I did. And she was just such a tragic, it was all such a bad misrepresentation of everything. But I thought she was just fantastic.
Yeah, there was so much to like about this. And before we get into it a little bit more, guys, I just want to take a quick second out. Like I've been doing this in my previous videos as of late because there's a situation in Wayanad at the moment, which you guys know about, the landslide, which has taken a lot of lives. Unfortunately, it's a really tragic situation. Not getting that much coverage in the press. I know it's not being covered here in Australia at all.
Wow.
It might be pretty similar over there in the US, I imagine. Are you guys in the I imagine it's a political season right now, so that's probably taken over all the streams at the moment. But I guess it's this situation. I just wanted to share some awareness. I have some images up here that I'm going to put right now. It's basically just sharing some numbers, some support. If you are in trouble or you know anyone that's in trouble, please feel free to share this. I'm going to share the screens. You can take a screenshot and just share it around. They're all toll-free numbers, all free government services, no affiliation with any organizations except the government. These are all available to anyone that's suffering. It's missing persons, it's mental health, things are similar to that. And also I'm sharing some more information around fostering children or adopting children potentially, if that's something you're interested in, because one of the really unfortunate things that have happened is a lot of kids have now become orphaned because of this situation.
God.
So, they're looking for people to support, them. So if you are interested in that, look, you can look into that a bit more, share it with someone, like, I'm not the biggest channel, but I'll do my part to sort of just spread some news about this, and hopefully it gets to some people in need in any way. It's the least I could do for this, so just thought I'd take that quick interlude. But yeah, have you guys been affected much by I know, Kathy, you're in earthquake zones, right? So that's something that happens, but it's not that level, or has it got pretty bad?
We had an earthquake the other day. It was like a 5.2 or something, which was far away, but we felt it. And it's always that moment of like, you feel the room shaking and you're like, it was that hesitation, like, how long is this going to go on? Is it about to get worse? Because you're just hanging out. It comes out of nowhere. So you don't know, do I need to run for cover right now, or do we need to wait and see what happens? So there's that. But, this is next level where it's just ongoing for hours and days. And
yes.
I can't imagine. I mean, a lot of destruction with an earthquake all at once, but it's not that endless threat. I just cannot imagine this, psychologically what that would do to you.
I mean, in Colorado, it's kind of the opposite problem because we've had a lot of high heat days, and so it's extremely dry, and there's been forest fires
we have that too.
that are spreading, and so literally. Normally, when I go out driving, I can see the mountains, and the haze from fires has been so much that you can't see the mountains at all. It's just white.
Oh my.
And some of the fires were only about, I don't know, like an hour or so away, so not very far away. And there have been cases like a few years ago where in suburban Denver, there were subdivisions that were destroyed by fires. So that's kind of, I'm kind of new to the Colorado area, and just that's an every summer kind of threat of, and just like you can't avoid with climate change. Extreme rain, right? And also extreme heat and dryness, which can lead to more fires like that.
But anyone that's going through anything, heartfelt condolences. Hope you guys are getting through it, the best you can. It's tough at the moment. But getting back onto this movie, as you guys mentioned, it's such a fantastic movie. Gonna try something a bit new, guys. I think we can do a trailer reaction, because if you have you have somebody that's seen this movie and really liked it, but you might not remember it so well, because it is from 2021 or something like that. I think
2022. I think.
Yeah, 2022. So it's a little while. It's from a while back. So this is just going to help to hopefully refresh your memory about the movie a bit. But let's check the trailer. Let's check this trailer out.
All right. Here we go.
Oh, that scene.
Oh, I know. Horrible.
Operation Java.
The cat.
The cat.
Yeah, the cat. I love that.
Stealing food. Funny.
Some of the scenes.
Yeah. Such a great sense of place.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was so funny. That's right. I forgot about the trying to rent an elephant.
Can you arrange an elephant?
An elephant, that was hilarious. So hopefully that'll help to refresh your memory. But looking at that, I just remembered this movie was so well shot. It was remarkable how well this was shot. Credit to the director and cinematographer, because while watching it, I was like, you can't even tell that this is somebody that's just getting into their craft. Like a second movie to put out something like this, so visually stunning, using the landscape, using the settings that he had, the way he just shot the scenes, just took a pause every now and then to give us a scene of like the ocean or something like that. It all sort of played into it because this movie, it is kind of heavy at times, I feel, because, you're following this long, tedious court case. And I think the scenes just help to split it up to be like, hey, take a breath. And you just see something amazing. So he uses it to his advantage, in the visual storytelling really well. But yeah, like you guys, I absolutely love so much about this movie.
It's beautiful.
I think they shot Grandma, who I think was probably my favorite part of this movie, like you had mentioned.
So
Kathy.
good.
And
oh my gosh,
the thing that I really loved about her was that I think she maybe had, I don't know, maybe 100 to 200 words after the slapping incident. She barely spoke. She was in her own world, but she was able to convey so much of what she was feeling and her mind state and the situation just through looking downwards. It wasn't even like, it was just like a downwards gaze the whole time, and you could just tell how distraught she was. And this is, I think it's a debut film. I can't find any other movie that's done.
Same.
She's just
85
years old and just was like, yep, let me just walk up and
in those few lines, she was dubbed by another actress, but I agree. There's so much of her performance that was not lines that she said, but just her demeanor, like you say, her looking down, her just, scenes with her son where she's disappointed with her son and just like, okay, this is the way it is, and you could just see her resignation, and also, like Kathy mentioned, her moments of joy, even in the midst of all of this, of having her own place and just having simple pleasures like feeding a cat. So I was so, it's like I thought the case was going to be much bigger than it was. Let's just put it that way. Because when, we're going to get into a lot of spoilers. Okay, so she slaps a kid because they were playing cricket and the baby coconut hits her on the head. They're playing on a rooftop. And so she goes up to give him a piece of her mind, and she ends up slapping this kid who has already a loose tooth, and the tooth goes flying and blood goes flying and whatever. So then becomes this court case. And when she's arrested and she's sitting there in the police station and there's somebody else and she's so silent and just sitting there. And there's another just kind of crazy character that comes up and tries to talk to her. And I'm like, she's dead. She's dead. That's what the case is, right? That is what I thought the case was. I thought that it was going to be this huge thing that the police arrested her and she had a heart attack and she's just sitting there and she's dead. And then it's going to become this. And no, that wasn't what it was, right? Like that I was expecting, but that was the point of it. The point of it was the central case was so petty and so small. And went on for a decade. It was just, it was
and
crazy.
She showing up. 2-month delay, a month. Like she couldn't really even go home because the delays were just enough. Oh, they changed the court location. They changed the judge.
Magistrate.
They got to torture this poor woman. And then it kind of escalates a little bit like, she beat this poor child with a, it's like, oh my God.
Correct.
It's like, like, so it was just painful to see that because she was trying to be so dignified about it, but it was just her whole life was being wrapped up in that. But at the same time, she kind of discovered something about herself during it, where she got out from under all the expectations from her family and kind of found her own little moments, like we were talking about. And that to me made it all kind of worthwhile, even though it wasn't.
Yeah.
But it was funny too, because she was so quiet and so like dignified. And then there's a big moment where you think she dies, she passes out, like something happens. And then they show her and she's being all sassy and she's smiling. Who is this person?
Yeah.
It's like, I love that too, because it's like she sort of came alive,
Yeah,
so
there were several moments where I thought the director was going to take us one way, and he completely subverted my expectations of what I thought the plot was going to be. In a lot of ways, this reminded me of Great Indian Kitchen. And then in comparison is in that I felt this tension and yet nothing was really happening, for a long period of this film.
Yeah.
And then, and part of it was like the monotony of the cooking in Great Indian Kitchen. Like you're feeling it. And in the same way, you're feeling the pain of all, we're like, what, another delay, another change, another whatever, that the case keeps getting delayed and delayed and delayed. And that she, it finally ends up, she's just has to pay a $5,000 fine. Like it just
correct after all that.
after and so in the same way, the director is taking us through how painful this process was, because it is. I mean, you're like restless and you're just like feeling this tension throughout the film, which is kind of amazing that when nothing really dramatic is happening except for people trying to hire elephants and whatever. But I mean, he tried to intersperse it with crazy things happening in police stations or in the court, or whatever. But you could just see how beaten down she is after years and years and years of this. And because you're feeling it. You're like, what? Another delay? Like, what?
Wrap this up.
It's like no, I think you mentioned, Kathy, or I think you both mentioned, like you really feel like the like you kind of feel the long process, like you're in the journey with her, and it is excruciatingly painful and frustrating to see this. And I think some more credit to sort of the team behind this movie, the way she like physically transformed throughout the movie. Like you can see her at the start, she has like, I think, black hair, she looks a bit younger, and throughout the 10 years you see her become like an old frail lady, even more so. And even like, they did a good job to just, I mean, they gave her about 20 minutes or so to set up her character, and she was just a completely different person. Like, she was yelling, nagging, like upset, like this really like unpleasant person to be around. It felt like, oh my God, you just shut up. Like, like you're always talking, always, back, like it's always bickering, and it's like, oh, this is not a nice situation. And then right after that slap, you see her, and I think she just says, it's like, because it is a momentary lapse of judgment. She just used a bit too much power, and it's just basically like, oh my God. She herself was in shock. I rewound that scene and she was like, what happened? And then I was like,
what?
I was like, wait, does she have some kind of mental condition? Does she not remember what happened? But it wasn't that. It was just that she was actually just shocked. Like she didn't expect like to actually hit him that hard.
A tooth to fall out.
Yeah, a tooth to fall out. So she was just in shock, like, oh my God, what the heck's happened here? And that leads us to like, I guess, like, because it is a story of two halves, like the stuff we talked about with the long court case, that's really in the second half. But I thought what they did in the first half was just as, I guess, fascinating and engaging as well, because it was just the story being told, and it was so interesting to see what's going to happen, how they're going to solve this case. As you mentioned, Melanie, the ups and downs of the case, like she's on bail, then she gets freed of. Then she's basically she's out on bail. Then the bail's been cancelled. We have one advocate who's there, and then he's sleeping all the time. I thought that was a joke, but then he actually passes away, and I was like, oh my God, this is like, it's just like there's this moments where you're like, I didn't expect that to happen. Like it has happened over and over again. So the whole movie just felt so easy to watch because there's just a consistent, like the pacing is so good despite it being a bit long, and I think even the parts are like hard to get through. That's intentional because you are meant to be feeling the pain that the character is. So,
and the other thing is, it shows how this petty hate, this petty disagreement between neighbors, and they have that drone shot in the trailer that we just watched, showing how close together everyone was living on top of each other, right? And that that this small petty disagreement, and it was really the men that pushed it through, right? Who insisted in making a big deal out of it and making it a court case. And then it destroys the families. And so who is left at the end, right? It's the women who are picking up the pieces. Both of the husbands who had started the whole case are either missing, presumed dead, actually have died.
That's right.
And then it's this young boy who's now grown up. Yeah. And he's like, he was, in the final trial scene, he's just like, I was 9 years old, because the government advocate is just like, but you signed this. He's like, my dad wrote this and I was 9 years old.
I did what he told me to do. And all the witnesses, I love how they kind of came to a rescue like that.
I love that.
It was very cool. They all they became hostile witnesses.
Hostile witnesses, each one by one. I love that.
Yeah. But yet she wouldn't allow them to completely rescue her, because that's what she had come to terms with. I did this. I should be called to account. It's like they're trying to rescue her and have it just dropped.
I know.
And that moment when she's like, no, I did it.
I did it. I was like, oh my God. But I like what you said about them him taking a breath, like taking a pause and then showing you. Like those scenes are some of my favorites. Like just little scenes of like, that ocean or just, the cat eating something or just those little moments that make you feel lived in, like in those areas, like just beautiful, just close up and the way they even filmed going into their houses and the way she was kind of tucked away back in this maze, like back in this room, almost like a prisoner, like back in, it's a hider back here. He just did such a great job of like creating an environment like that and just feeling just so natural. You just have to do that. It's not about all action packed moving. It's about take a second and show the birds flying off through. Take a moment to show a tree kind of fluttering in the wind or something. It's like that is what makes that movie so special because you just feel the poetry of it. It's just so gorgeous.
That's a perfect word for it because it did feel like that. The visuals plus the music as well. Like the music was so beautiful in this. The background score. Some of the songs were just like that. I think the one or two songs when she's actually finding like joy in life again. That song that plays in the background was like, oh my goodness, this is really touching.
It's really good.
It's a perfect mix of that. So yeah, he really knows how to use because there's no like moments of levity. There's no like there's no character that's there for comedy. Like there's a few scenes here and there, but there's no like your designated comedian to just lift the mood up whenever we need. So you need other ways to sort of bring to ease attention a bit. And the director decided to use these visual cues, which I think just worked brilliantly, to be honest. It was fantastic. Now, the main actor, Lukman, he's the only one that I've sort of recognized. I mean, he holds a very special place for me because he was the side character in Talumala, which was like one of my first movies I'd seen, and to date, one of my favorite movies. So that's where I remember him from. And he was also fantastic in his very limited role. Like he had very less screen time, but such a big impact. I mean, I do want to sort of go towards the end of this movie, and my goodness, what a way to end this.
Oh my gosh. Wow. He was amazing. He was amazing.
Yeah. It was fantastic. Just like there's scenes where, I mean, he's kind of navigating the case in the second, I guess, towards the last act when he's trying to, I guess, throw the case. There's one kind of funny scene when he's talking to his old girlfriend who's then got married, and she's like, "I told you not to call me anymore. Like, I moved on from you. I'm a decent woman." And he's like, "Hey, stop!" Like, I just need you to come to the court case.
Oh God, it was so painful.
That was such a great interaction between the two. But him sort of leading the charge, and towards the end, that scene at the end, man. Oh my God, when it's like the final result is after 10 years of this going back and forth. It's so funny to see the different judges. People have passed away during this court case. So with this case, it's just so ridiculous. So much happens in 10 years. A boy has grown up basically in 10 years, and then for him to be like, the final word is $5,000, and all she wanted was forgiveness. She's like, I don't want anything else. I'm ready to do anything. She even says, I'm ready to take any punishment, but please ask him to forgive me. And then he just says, I'll pay the bill. In the end, the guy that got slapped is paying off the bill, which is just like, it tells you what situation the grandma is in. She's just, she's not well-to-do. She's like, not financially well-to-do. All her money's gone to legal fees, essentially to this other lawyer who is also a character in his own.
I love him. He was funny. You think he's a total shyster, but he pulls it off. Sort of.
Yeah, he does in the end. But I mean, there's not many movies I've got like super emotional towards. This one was one of them. Like at the end when they're having
that end. Oh
when they were sort of just in the when she's talking about how I've been following your life from a distance. I've been seeing your sister's wedding. I've been seeing your when you finish school. I was like, oh my God, you've been part of his life, but you couldn't be there because of what you did. That one slap when he was 9 years old has caused you so much pain. Beautiful. I was like, oh, I can't hold back the tears. It was beautiful.
Chills. I'm getting chills just thinking about it.
I know. I really literally got teary-eyed in that scene when she had that conversation with him and told him, I wanted to approach you at your father's funeral and I wanted, just all of these things. But she says, I wasn't allowed to be near you. And so just, oh my gosh. And like she had tried to, I kept feeling like she was kind of old fashioned, in the way that, how do you deal with a neighborhood kid? You slap him. That's what she grew up,
old school.
Right? And that she was not prepared for this whole legal framework of, that she had abused a child and whatever.
Yeah.
And then she tries to make it right in the traditional way immediately after. The next morning, he's in the house, and that she brought him something to eat. And then, it's his uncle or his friend, whatever, just make this huge thing out of it. And that the final thing is that she again had baked something and that she offers it to him. He can see she's hungry. She hasn't eaten. Like, he takes her into heaven. Oh my God, but then
that was beautiful.
That she offers her handmade baked goods to him, and that he finally got to take it and finally got to taste it. I mean, the fact that at the end he's trying to convince his mom, okay, she needs to move in with us now. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. I can't. Like, it was so my God. It was just, I mean, like the families had been destroyed, but it was like this young man was showing, okay, we're going to break the pattern. We're going to, we're going to make things right. And oh my gosh, fantastic. That was so great. Such a great way to end the film, because again, when as you had mentioned, there's the dramatic scene where she collapses after they had this big conversation, and I'm like, okay, this is it, right?
Yeah. No, she died right after it. No,
it's not it. Oh my gosh! So like again, I was subverted. Yeah. Like the director took me again on the emotional roller coaster.
Like, killing me.
It was right there.
I know. And I was watching. I'm like, no! Like, I'm yelling, no! You can't do this to me. This is not how don't take me down. You're so right. No. It's like you're always going down. Just kidding. It's like, okay. But it really was relatively hopeful. Like, I remember I was watching it and I texted you guys going, this movie is so sad. And it was like, I was like halfway through it. But, it was really sad. But then it gave you, I think, those little highs that made the lows seem even worse. Yes. Because she's having these moments of relief. Oh, and then she's down again. And she's a little bit of she's down again. It's like, oh my gosh, it was just brutal, but so good. And it had a great ending.
Two things I wanted to note that the director put in the film. The opening credits has an apology to anyone who auditioned for the film and didn't make it or was cut from the final. I mean, I've never seen that before. That is so okay.
No, that was the first. I've not seen that. That's interesting. That's a great point.
And also at the end, he dedicated it to like the 47 million court cases that are just like this. Yes. Right? I mean, like we're just seeing the piles of paper and just how many of these petty things are just dragged on. I mean, normally what we see is if there's some sort of court case, we're seeing that one of the parties is extremely wealthy and boom, 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 it's done, right? Yeah. And this is just showing when you don't have that power, when you don't have that money, and you're just kind of kicked around by the system for literally a decade.
For a decade, which was ridiculous. But I really liked at the end how it said, dedicated to the 47 million. There's some line they say at the end about like what is a human worth or something like that. I couldn't exactly understand what they were mentioning. Like I couldn't really understand what they were saying with that. It might have been a bit of translation, or maybe I just didn't get it. But there was something there with that.
Yeah, you're right. That was kind of the final line. And I think it was just kind of about the fine that was imposed on her. And it was like, really?
Yes.
All this for that? Like,
okay. I mean, I was thinking to compare this to like, it felt like Charles Dickens. Wasn't it like The Great Expectations where there's like this court case? I mean, again, that was more like an inheritance, but it's the same kind of feeling, like a court case. The only people getting rich are the lawyers or whatever, even though this lawyer wasn't necessarily, but just because things just keep going on and on and on for years.
It's funny because you could see him age as well during the time. Like you see him sort of grow from like a young man to like an older man, I guess, throughout the time. But you are exactly right. There's so much to like about this movie. Like, I mean, even in that moment at the end when she collapsed, like it's funny because like I do this thing where like that happens. My mind starts the process like, okay, well at least she got her apologies and that's how they're going to end the movie. Like, okay, she's made peace with what was there and now she can move on with her life and now it's ended. All the sorts of go in my head all for like about, I don't know, 30 seconds until like she comes back alive and I'm like, oh, okay, she's alive.
And it's like, oh, such relief.
Okay,
I don't have to process this anymore.
Just forget about everything I was thinking about because that's not going to be there. But no, there's just so much to like about this movie. And it's, again, this is why I want to do this because you can do, like, there's so much talent within this industry. And I say this for for I think all the industries across India, and all the. To be honest, it's pretty big fact. Like you can make great movies that don't necessarily have the biggest actors or the most experienced people in the room. They can just put something together like this, and it is magic. So we're really looking to do more of these guys. So I would love to know some more. Like I'm pretty keen to check out like his first movie, Tharun Moorthy's first movie, Operation Java, I think it's called, with Lukman again.
Definitely,
because I mean, I really like his way of shooting. Like it's just fantastic. So
yeah, I mean, I guess that was based on a real event of the release of the movie Pramam, which was a big movie, and the two people, because I was looking it up. I'm like, and I just love this director's biography that he had a theater background from a young age. Like he had done Kathakali performances and whatever, which I got to see when I was visiting Kerala. And then he was an assistant professor of computer science. Okay.
Wow.
Right. And then and like he couldn't make it trying to be an actor, and then became a director. And I just it's just and because of his theater background, like he knows this is a career step for everyone who's in the film. And I think the same lead actor is in the Operation Java film, and so people were saying, okay, for your second film now you should do like a big star, and so and he was like, no, like he stayed with.
That's cool.
I think there's so many people in this film that this may have been their first film that they were in.
There weren't too many faces I recognized in this one. Like I think I recognized the son. He was in a Niven Pauly movie, I remember, which was really good. But otherwise, and the grandma, the 86-year-old, that's her first movie and maybe her only movie, I think. So
right. So just that he, I just love that. Right. I just love that he is doing it in a mindful way of like, I want to make the movie that I want to make with a message and not just go for, doing the next Avino Thomas movie or whatever it might be. So, I love that. And I think this film was really celebrated. It was picked for an international film festival. So, I'm eagerly awaiting his upcoming film. If anyone in the comments, if anyone has heard about what his upcoming film is going to be about, would love to know, or who is involved with it. If there is any name, I'd love to know about that. And I'd also one actor that we didn't mention was the guy that kind of was the friend, Brito.
He was so good.
He was such an interesting character. And I loved him. And like he was the one that finally gives the rebuke to the older woman's son, like, this is how you treat your mother, right? Like,
she's your mother. Like he just walks away from her, even though she told him to. That's not what you do. You stay.
Right. I just really loved his character, and he was also very involved at the end in trying to get the case dismissed as well. But it then became a partnership, the young man and him. So I loved that. So anyway.
Fantastic.
So much to like about this movie. A big special mention to my friend Bibin, who actually was the one that told me about this movie when I asked for these underrated gems.
Thank you.
So I appreciate that a lot. And we're looking to do more of these. So thank you, Melanie, for joining me on this. Thank you, Kathy. Make sure if you have not subscribed to the channels, make sure you go over there, subscribe, like. You'll see me there. You'll see Kathy on Melanie's channel. You'll see Melanie on Kathy's channel. We did this whole thing where we are. Pretty much. So that's that'll be it for this. But thanks a lot for joining us in this review. We hope you enjoyed our thoughts, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
So guys.